Evet, herkese merhaba. Perkulus'ta hiç kimse yok, gördüm. YouTube'da 4 kişi görünüyor. Şuradan son kontrollerimizi bir yapalım, ondan sonra başlayalım. Evet, hatta 5 kişi var. Bunu sonra da izleyebilirsiniz. Evet, şu şekilde ayarlarımızı düzeltelim ve başlayalım. Şimdi bugün iki yeni konuya geçiyoruz. Yine hayvanlar üzerinde duracağız. Kingdom Animalia üzerinde. So today we will learn about animal reproduction and then animal development. But first of all, I have to tell you, the animal development is a quite complicated issue. What I'm going to talk about here is very limited. It's going to be very limited. I hope everybody can hear on YouTube because I'm not sure what's happening over there. Let me check very quick. Give me a few seconds, please. Alright, the sound is on YouTube, then we can start. Alright, first we will start with animal reproduction. So today we are going to see two chapters. We are going to learn about, we are going to study two chapters on Campbell's biology. Again, I'm going to be using the Campbell's biology, the slides from Campbell's biology, and I suggest you to read from Campbell's biology as well, and also the other book, How Biology Works. So the chapters 46 and 47, but we are going to see some parts and we are going to pass some other parts. Especially we are going to look at the human development. So rest of the animals are going to be out of our subjects, so you won't be responsible for those. So let's start with animal reproduction. Let me take my laser pointer. Okay, animal reproduction is our first subject today. Pairing up for sexual reproduction. Animal reproduction takes many forms. For example, sea slugs are both male and female, each one producing both eggs and sperms. So there's a huge variety in animals. When we talk about the reproduction, there are different forms of reproduction. A population outlives in members of only by reproduction the generation of new individuals from existing ones. Okay, this is the description of reproduction. You have to know the generation of new individuals from existing ones. Reproduction is the generation of new individuals from existing of ones. So I repeated 3 times. I repeated for 3 times. You know what that means. We can talk about two kinds of reproduction in all living organisms: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, which are both seen in kingdom of animals. Sexual reproduction is the creation of an offspring by fusion of a male gamete, which is called sperm, and a female gamete, which is called egg or ovum. When they fuse, the new cell is called zygote. So in sexual reproduction, there are two gametes, two reproductive cells, sperm and egg. They fuse and they form a new cell, which is called zygote. In asexual reproduction, in the second kind of reproduction, second version of reproduction, which is called asexual reproduction, that is creation of offspring without fusion of egg and sperm. There is no fusion of egg or sperm. There can be gametes, for example, without a sperm. Without fusing with a sperm, an egg can develop into a new organism. That is still asexual reproduction. Mechanisms. First, we will look at the asexual reproduction shortly. The mechanisms of asexual reproduction. Budding is the first mechanism for asexual reproduction. Budding is a simple form of asexual reproduction found only among invertebrates. New individuals arise from outgrowths of existing ones. Many invertebrates reproduce asexually by fission, separation of a parent into two or more individuals of about the same size. Fragmentation is another way. Fragmentation is breaking of body into pieces, some or all, which develops into adults. The fragmentation must be accompanied by regeneration, which means regrowth of lost body parts. Regeneration, an important issue. Parthenogenesis is another form of asexual reproduction. That is the development of a new individual from an unfertilized egg. Parthenogenesis is mainly observed in invertebrates, but it's observed rarely in some vertebrates as well. Sexual reproduction, the second kind of reproduction. Sexual females have half as many daughters as asexual females. This is twofold cost of sexual reproduction. Despite this, almost all aquatic species reproduce sexually. By producing offspring of varied phenotypes, sexual reproduction may enhance reproductive success of parents when environmental factors change relatively rapidly. So the most important advantage of sexual reproduction is ability of producing variation. So variation is much higher in sexually reproducing species. We can talk about reproductive cycles. Most animals exhibit reproductive cycles related to changing seasons. Reproductive cycles are controlled by hormones and environmental cues. Ovulation is the release of mature eggs at the midpoint of female cycle. Because seasonal temperature is often an important cue in reproduction, climate change can decrease reproductive success. For many animals, finding a partner for sexual reproduction may be challenging. One solution is hermaphroditism, in which each individual has male and female reproductive systems. Two hermaphrodites can mate, and some hermaphrodites can self-fertilize. So if we are talking about self-fertilization by a hermaphrodite individual, that is still an asexual reproduction. Individuals of some species undergo sex reversals. Some species exhibit male to female reversal, while others exhibit female to male reversals. Fertilization depends on mechanisms that bring together sperm and egg of the same species. So, fertilization means, that's an important description. What fertilization is: sperm and egg to be brought together, but they have to belong to the individuals from the same species. The mechanism of fertilization is the union of egg and sperm. It plays an important part in sexual reproduction. In external fertilization, so there are two kinds of fertilization, external fertilization and internal fertilization. First, we will look at external fertilization. In external fertilization, eggs shed by the female are fertilized by the sperm in the external environment. A moist habitat is always required for external fertilization to allow sperm to swim to the egg and to prevent the gametes from dying out. I'm also checking my phone to see if there's anything going wrong. All right. In this picture, you can see an example for external fertilization. As you can see, these things are all eggs produced by this female frog, and this male frog fertilizes them. In internal fertilization, so now we are passing to the second kind of fertilization. That's internal fertilization. Sperm are deposited in or near the female reproductive tract, and fertilization occurs within the tract, within female reproductive tract. I will repeat. In internal fertilization, the fertilization occurs inside the female reproductive tract. Internal fertilization requires behavioral interactions and compatible copulatory organs. All fertilization requires critical timing, often mediated by environmental cues, pheromones, and courtship behavior. Internal fertilization is typically associated with production of fewer gametes, but the survival of higher fraction of zygotes. Internal fertilization is also often associated with mechanisms to provide protection of embryos and parental care of young. The embryos of sometimes terrestrial animals develop in eggs with calcium and protein containing shells and several internal membranes. Some other animals retain the embryos which develop inside the female. In many animals, parental care helps ensure survival of the offspring. All right, this is an example. An insect taking care of fertilized eggs. Next issue, gamete production and delivery. To reproduce sexually, animals must produce gametes. There's a question. Faruk, evet kaydediliyor. Hem Perkulus'ta kaydediyorum hem de YouTube kaydediyor. Gamete production and delivery. To reproduce sexually for sexual reproduction, animals must produce gametes. That's first thing we have to do to reproduce, producing the gametes. In most species, individuals have gonads. Gonads are organs that produce gametes. So, organs which produce gametes are called gonads. Some simple systems do not have gonads, but gametes form from undifferentiated tissue. More elaborate systems, including sets of accessory tubes and glands that carry, nourish, and protect gametes and developing embryos. Reproducing organs produce and transport gametes. So, reproductive organs are responsible for producing and transporting the gametes. The following section focuses on the human reproductive system. So now we are starting to talk about human reproductive system. Human male reproductive anatomy. So I'm gonna pass this part a little bit, both male and female reproductive anatomies, but to understand rest of the chapter, to learn rest of the lecture, you have to learn these, and that's explained in the book very well. So even though I'm gonna pass these issues quickly, I want you to study from your books, Male and Female Reproductive Anatomies. Evet, burada Türkçe'de söylemek istiyorum. Şimdi erkek ve dişi üreme anatomisini hızlı geçiyorum, çok hızlı geçiyorum. Çünkü üremeden sonra asıl gelişmeye bakmak istiyorum. Gelişme konusunda biraz daha ayrıntılı durmak istiyorum. Ancak dersin geri kalanını anlayabilmeniz için bu konuları da öğrenmeniz gerekiyor. Bunları da okuyarak öğrenin. Kitapta gayet güzel bir şekilde anlatılmış. Hem Campbell'da hem How Biology Works'de, her iki kitapta da güzel bir şekilde anlatılmış. Benim geçtiğim yerleri, yani diğer hayvanları demiyorum. Hayvanlar üzerinde diğer hayvan türleri üzerinde çok fazla durmanıza gerek yok. İsterseniz okuyun. Ama özellikle insan üreme anatomisi, dişi ve erkek üreme anatomisini ben geçiyorum ama size bırakıyorum. Okuyarak öğrenin. The male's external reproductive organs are scrotum and penis. Internal organs are gonads, which produce sperm and hormones, and accessory glands secrete products needed for sperm movement. Ducts, which are responsible to carry sperm and glandular secretions. Okay, in the male reproductive anatomy, we have external organs and internal organs. External organs are scrotum and penis. Internal organs are gonads, accessory glands, and ducts. Gonads are testicles, which are responsible for producing sperm and hormones, male reproductive hormones, and accessory glands are responsible to secrete products needed for sperm movement. And the third part of internal organs are ducts. They are responsible to carry sperm and glandular secretions. I want to check something. Hold on a second, please. I want to go to... Okay, in Perculus there's only one person. Okay, that's fine. At least someone watches me from Perculus as well. Let me check YouTube. In YouTube, how many people in YouTube? All right, I can't see the YouTube. I think I closed it. No, I didn't. Okay, 4 people are watching me on YouTube. Okay, good. Let's go back to our lecture now. First, we will look at the internal organs. Testes or testicles. Male gonads are called testes. They consist of highly coiled tubes surrounded by connective tissues. Sperm form in these seminiferous tubules. So, in the testes, the highly coiled tubes, the tube structure is called seminiferous tubules. The other cells, Leydig cells, produce hormones and are scattered between the tubules. So there are seminiferous tubules, and between the seminiferous tubules there are special cells which are called Leydig cells. Leydig cells are responsible for producing male reproductive hormones. Production of normal sperm cannot occur at the body temperature of most mammals. The testes of many mammals are held outside the abdominal cavity, which is called scrotum. You will remember scrotum is one of the external reproductive organs of male. In the scrotum, the temperature is lower than abdominal cavity. Ducts. From the seminiferous tubules of a testis, sperm pass into coiled duct to epididymis. During ejaculation, sperm are propelled through the muscular vas deferens and ejaculatory duct and then exit the penis through urethra. Accessory glands. Semen is composed of sperm plus secretion from 3 sets of accessory glands. The 2 seminal vesicles contribute about 60% of total volume of semen. The prostate gland secretes its products directly into urethra through several small ducts. The bulbolateral glands secrete a clear mucus before ejaculation that neutralizes acidic urine remaining in urethra. Next, human female reproductive anatomy. The female external reproductive structures include the clitoris and 2 sets of labia. Internal organs, internal female organs, are a pair of gonads and a system of ducts and chambers that carry gametes and house embryo and fetus. Be careful here, please. The function of the female reproductive organs have, or female reproductive system has more function than the males. All right, we have to look at the female reproductive anatomy a little bit. So 2 ovaries, which are the gonads, and the rest of system is mostly for development of an embryo. Ovaries. The female gonads, the ovaries lie in the abdominal cavity. Each ovary contains many follicles, which consists of a partially developed egg called an oocyte. Oocyte is a partially developed egg, surrounded by support cells. Oviduct and uterus. The egg cell travels from the ovary to uterus via an oviduct or fallopian tube. Cilia in the oviduct convey the egg to the uterus, also called womb. The uterus lining, the endometrium, has many blood vessels. Uterus narrows at cervix, then opens into the vagina. Vagina and vulva. The vagina is a muscular but elastic chamber that is the repository of sperm during copulation and serves as the birth canal. The vagina opens to outside of vulva, which consists of labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Mammary glands are the other. Hold on a second, please. Something happening. There's a message. Let me check that message. Okay. Not about our lecture. Okay. Mammary glands are not the part of reproductive system, but they are important for mammalian reproduction. Within the glands, small sacs of epithelial tissue secrete milk. Gametogenesis. So the one of the most important parts of today's lecture, gametogenesis. That means how gametes form. Gametogenesis is production of gametes. Now, the first part of gametogenesis is meiosis. We have already learned about meiosis in the first semester. And the videos of meiosis are still exist in my YouTube channel. Please remember meiosis. If you don't remember, please watch my videos from first semester's lectures before understanding gametogenesis. Gametogenesis is production of gametes. Spermatogenesis is formation of sperm, which is continuous and prolific. Hundreds of millions of sperm are produced per day. Each sperm takes about 7 weeks to develop. Alright, gametogenesis are two types, since there are two types of gametes, spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Spermatogenesis is gametogenesis in the male. Alright, it's done in the testicles or testes. And in the structure of testes, alright, let's look at the structure of testes now. There are seminiferous tubules, and inside the seminiferous tubules, sperms form. At this point, we have to look at some terms. Sperm cell means the mature sperm. Spermatid is one step previous. Secondary spermatocyte, primary spermatocyte, and spermatogonium. Alright, spermatogonium is the first form of male reproductive cell. Primary spermatocyte is second step, secondary spermatocyte third step, spermatid fourth step, and sperm is fifth and last step. Now, if you look at the color codes, the pink means diploid stage, blue or green means haploid stage. Now we are looking at the seminiferous tubules. What happens in the seminiferous tubules? Inside the seminiferous tubules, there are spermatogonia. Spermatogonium are the main cells which undergo to meiosis. They undergo meiosis and they produce primary spermatocytes. They undergo mitosis and they produce primary spermatocytes, and then primary spermatocytes undergo meiosis and they produce secondary spermatocytes. They become and they are converted into spermatids. Now, Spermatogonium cells, those are actually stem cells. They undergo mitotic cell divisions. They produce two different kinds of cells. One spermatogonium and one spermatogonial stem cells. Spermatogonium undergo mitosis and they produce two primary spermatocytes. Primary spermatocytes undergo to meiosis. After meiosis 1, they produce two secondary spermatocytes, and each of these cells undergo meiosis 2, and they produce early spermatids. 4 early spermatids are produced. These cells undergo differentiation and they become mature sperm cells. This is a mature sperm cell. It's a highly specialized cell. Very little amount of cytoplasm exists, and this purple part is nucleus. The huge volume is taken up by nucleus. Different from the other cells, sperm cells has a special organelle which is called acrosome, which carries the hydrolytic enzymes. And this part, which includes acrosome and nucleus, is head. There is a neck part and then a middle piece. In the middle piece of sperm cell, there are a lot of mitochondria, and mid piece is connected to tail. The plasma membrane is continuous even in the tail, and tail is necessary for movement of the sperm cell. I think this is yes, this is a video. I have to get rid of the laser pointer first to show you the video. In this video, you can see movement of a sperm cell with its flagella. That's all. Next, oogenesis is the development of a mature egg. It is a prolonged process. Immature egg forms in the female embryo, but do not complete their development until years or decades later. So, you will remember from our first semester's lectures, I told you the meiosis in the female body starts during embryonic development. Meiosis 1 is done during embryonic development. Meiosis 2 continues after puberty. All right. The production of an oocyte or egg starts with primordial germ cells. By mitotic divisions, they produce oogonium, which has 2 N chromosomes. Again, mitotic divisions in the embryo during embryonic stage. They produce primary oocytes, present at birth, arrested in prophase 1 of mitosis. Starting at puberty, completion of meiosis 1 and onset of meiosis 2. This secondary oocyte arrested at metaphase 2 of meiosis 2. Then ovulation and sperm entry. So there are 2 possibilities. A sperm can fertilize the egg, or the egg can be destroyed. Ovulation and sperm entry ends with completion of meiosis 2, and it becomes fertilized egg. All right. In the embryo, what we see is primary oocyte within follicle. So eggs are found in the structures called follicles. Then growing follicle. Starting at puberty, the mature follicle becomes ovulated secondary oocyte. So ovulation is release of secondary oocyte from ovarium. Then it becomes corpus luteum. If the fertilization doesn't occur, corpus luteum is degenerated. Spermatogenesis differs from oogenesis in 3 ways. 1. All 4 products of meiosis develop into sperm, while only one of the 4 becomes an egg. This is an important point. You will remember, by the end of meiotic cell division, one cell produces 4 offspring cells. 4 of these cells become sperm in the male body, but in female's body, only one of them becomes egg, the rest become polar bodies. Second difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis: spermatogenesis occurs through adolescence and adulthood. Sperm are produced continuously without the prolonged interruptions in oogenesis. So these 3 differences are important. By the way, if you have any questions, you can ask me in the chat section of YouTube if you cannot connect to Perculus. The interplay of, let me see, what's that? Okay, the interplay of topic and sex hormones regulate mammalian reproduction. Human reproduction is coordinated by hormones from hypothalamus, anterior pituitary, and gonads. Gonadotropin-releasing hormone, GRH, is secreted by hypothalamus and directs the release of FSH, which means follicle-stimulating hormone, and LH, which is called luteinizing hormone, from anterior pituitary. FSH and LH regulates process in the gonads and production of sex hormones. The main sex hormones are steroid hormones. Important main sex hormones are steroid hormones. Testosterone in the main androgen. Estrogen consists of mainly estradiol and progesterone. So, male sex hormone is testosterone, which is the main androgen. Male sex hormones are called androgens. Female sex hormones are called estrogens. There are two main female sex hormones, one estradiol, two progesterone. Sex hormones serve many functions in addition to gamete production, including sexual behavior and the development of primary and secondary sex characters. Okay, this is an important sentence again. Sex hormones are responsible for gamete production, sexual behaviors, and development of primary and secondary sex characters. Please take notes. What are the sex hormones are responsible for? What are the sex hormones responsible for? 1. Gamete production. 2. Sexual behavior. 3. Development of primary and secondary sex characters. Hormonal control of male reproductive system. FSH promotes activity of Sertoli cells, which nourish developing sperm. LH regulates Leydig cells, which secrete testosterone and other androgens. So Leydig cells are responsible for production and secretion of testosterone, which in turn promote spermatogenesis. Testosterone regulates production of GRH, FSH, and LH through negative feedback mechanisms. Sertoli cells secrete hormone inhibin, which reduces FSH secretion from anterior pituitary. Alright, in this picture you can see regulation of male reproductive hormones. In this diagram, you can see the negative feedback. Hormonal control of female reproductive cycles. In females, the secretion of hormones and reproductive events they regulate are cyclic. Prior to ovulation, the endometrium thickens with blood vessels in preparation for embryo implantation. If an embryo does not implant into endometrium, the endometrium is shed in process called menstruation. Hormones closely linked the two cycles of female reproduction. Changes in the uterus define the menstrual cycle. Changes in the ovaries define ovarian cycle. In placental mammals, an embryo develops fully within mother's uterus. An egg develops into embryo in a series of predictable events. Embryonic development and birth. Let's take a break here. After 10 minutes we will be back. And from YouTube I'm gonna start a new broadcast after 10 minutes.